Again, just hand tight. If you don't have 12 of these things lying around your garage, do you even work, bro? So I decided, gee, I'm riding all these bikes all the time, and I never showed you how to do an oil change on these bikes. Because, you know, the manual says 3,000 kilometers, right? Well, I do them every 1,000. And as with any good oil change, the first step is coffee. And I apologize for being barefoot. Understand that it is my own shop. The other mandatory part of the job is to pet your cats. So, we're gonna get started. The first thing I always like to do is cover up my license plate so that nobody can read it. The second thing is to take your oil pan and clean it out, because you want to look and see how much metal is left at the bottom. That looks pretty good. All right. So we're doing it on this bike right now because that bike has the stator cover off. Yeah, the mosquitoes in here are absolutely insane. I got that bug blaster there that's been going for like 3 hours without me being in here. And they shouldn't be coming in this much. I don't know, it's a weird night. Now what you're gonna need for this job, so you're gonna need an 8 mil, and I believe we also need a 19. A 6, a 4 millimeter Allen key, and a 22 millimeter. I believe it's 22 millimeter, or is it 24? It might be 24. No, I think it's 24. Where the hell did I put my freaking impact wrench? You know, sometimes you just need to leave things around a shop. Train yourself to be better at finding things. There's that bug zapper going off. It works, I tell you, it works. A pair of, you don't really need them, but they're handy to me. Pair of pliers. Needle nose or whatever works good. We gotta take the skid plate off. Ah, I'm missing a bolt. Oh, somebody made that a 10. Those aren't the bolts that I remember putting in there. I should be Loctiting those too. Never mind, you need a 10 millimeter. That's not OEM bolts, I don't believe. I swear I changed this thing's oil before. Wow, look at that bolt, eh? That's been going like that for a while. That's awkward. So we got that open. Now, see this little bolt right here? That is for the gearbox oil. And if you can't get them off by hand, then they're definitely too tight. You don't want to over tighten these. Let's see how bad this gearbox oil is. Good. Well, it's not too bad. This oil has about 600 kilometers on it because I wanted to do it fairly shortly after I had initially done it. I initially done it at 2,300 kilometers, and then I did it now at 3,000 kilometers on this bike. Not too bad. A little bit darker, but I find with this new MTL 80 fluid, the stuff comes out just a bit darker no matter what you do. The older stuff usually came out pretty clear, but since they changed their formula, I don't know what it's doing. So we're gonna let that drain for a couple minutes and come back, because what we want to do is inspect and see what kind of metal flakes are in the gear oil. And then we're going to do the same thing for the engine oil. So this is why I don't want to mix them. All right. So that should be mostly drained. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of pull it up like that. Push her back down like that. See how much comes out now. Yeah, looks like we're just about half decent. I'm just going to thread that back in there. I don't follow a torque spec. I just kind of put her on there. Hand tight. Now, we take this. We're gonna look. All that black stuff is probably a lot of clutch material. Doesn't appear to be a lot of metal flakes, but the metal flakes usually soak down to the bottom. Gonna take her over to our oil drum over here. Nothing to write home about. Transmissions are gonna put out a little bit more flake material than the normal engine would. So it's nothing too concerning. And we're gonna open up this drain plug here. And you're supposed to be able to open these with your fingers, but I never found that possible. I guess my fingers aren't made of steel, unfortunately. So I'm gonna set that aside there. I'm gonna grab our 6mm, because we gotta take our rear brake lever off. Man, these mosquitoes are freaking terrible. Jeepers, that does not look too good, does it? We're gonna clean that up in a minute here. I'm gonna take another sip of coffee. Man, that thing is just going off. Good gracious. Always kind of concerned about these things being a fire hazard. This little screw here. Now there's several screws around it, so let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. See this one right here. We want to open this little thing right up. What we might have to do, set our Allen key in like that. And then take our pliers and just twist it open. Just like that. Now this is gonna take some finagling. So hopefully all of yous are well versed in finagling. Sometimes it helps to push the peg back a little bit. Try not to lose it. It is now funnel time. Not fun time, funnel time. Make sure to breathe as much of that in as possible. Trust me, it's not good for your health. Our most beloved milk crate. If you don't have 12 of these things lying around your garage, do you even work, bro? So that little drain plug that we took out there, man, there wasn't anything left in that, was there? Is basically our fill level. So when we put this oil down in there, now this is Maxima MTL transmission lube, 80 weight. This is by far the most highly recommended juice for your bike to run. It acts like 10W40. We're gonna put that in there. And then wait a second. We're gonna clean that area underneath that hole, because when the fluid is at the right level, it will drain out of that. And then when it starts to drain out, I'm gonna put this back underneath it. No? Is it still not enough? All right. You can start to see it. Start to just barely see it come out now. It's funny, you look all around for your phone and it's literally right beside you. It hasn't actually dripped out at all, but you can definitely see it's sitting in there. It's definitely wet. If it does drip out a little bit, that's fine, don't worry about it. The trick of the trade is you don't want more oil in the gearbox than you need. All that is more friction, because gearboxes are just normal splash lubrication. Let's put our lovely cap back on. Make sure we're not cross-threading the plastic threads. I should have cleaned this bike before well, actually I did clean this bike before I did this oil change here. But apparently not very well. And here's the tricky part here. Getting these threads to line back up. My God, bugs, bugs, bugs. If you're ever thinking of moving to Ontario, don't. You're gonna get malaria. Like, I'm not joking either. Like, malaria is what killed a lot of my ancestors. There. Just finger tight. You can never do just a dab with this stuff. Once you open the thing, the whole garage gets coated in it. Anti-seize. We're just gonna put that just like that right on the thread. Sometimes it can be a bit hard to find where the threads are. If anything's going in too tough, then you're probably cross-threading it, so stop it. And if you have cross-threaded something, they make little, they call them thread chasers. And they're not like, they look like they're similar to a tap, like for a normal tap and die set. And they're not though. They're sized differently. You want to use one of those to clean the threads up. Definitely don't use a tap. I'll put this back on our shelf. We're gonna grab a fresh oil filter. How many do I got left? I got 2 left. We can put this one back. Now we're gonna drain the engine oil. And this is the most complicated part here. So we got our little drain plug there. This one's a little bit shorter than the gearbox drain. All right, now we got oil on our hands, of course, so we've got that drain plug draining. Now we can grab a 19 and our little wrench. We're gonna grab this, get it out of the way. Just set it. It should be able to set right on the ground like that. Should be enough length to it. And see this bolt here? Do not touch these little Allen heads here. They're apparently a artifact of the casting process. What we're looking for is this 19mm bolt right here. It shouldn't be any more than hand tight. So be careful when you take this off. There should be an O-ring, a spring, and a little piston. Sometimes, there it is. See that? Ah, damn it. I had to get a bug on my arm. Now, if that piston doesn't come out, which it probably won't, this is the flow control valve. If this doesn't come out, you can just, like I said, like I just did, kind of fish it out with the spring, just like that. Or, worst case scenario, I believe this is threaded for a probably M8 or M10 bolt. And you can kind of get a couple threads into it and pull it out. So what we're going to do, we're going to set this spring and plug aside, clean this off, and we're going to inspect it for any excessive wear. Now, these don't have to be perfect, but you got to feel them. If you've got good feeling in your fingers, you can use your nail otherwise. As long as there aren't any rough spots, any little burrs of any kind. It's a little scratch there. You can, from what I understand, that scratch is a little bit concerning, but you can take, like I said, I believe it's an M8 or an M10 bolt. Yeah, looks like an M10. You can just kind of thread it onto there, run it through a buffing wheel. That looks a little bit better. Now, this should be pretty close to being drained. What I'm going to do, like I did with the gearbox, just kind of hold it upright for a minute. By the way, I'm doing this at like 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning. Setting this back down here. Yeah, see that pulled a little bit more oil out. We are going to spray this off just a bit. Yes, I realize I am using brake cleaner near an open flame. Don't worry, I'm not a professional. Yeah, that little scratch is a lot better. So you can, like I just did, you can buff that little valve a few times before you really need to replace it. We're gonna take our, it is a 24mm, right? It is, all right. So we're taking our 24mm. This should not be on there very tight at all, but they do tend to tighten up. Probably got a little bit of oil behind here. Yeah. See, this is the advantage of having the aluminum skid plate Don't forget to keep that little spring there. This is the advantage of having an aluminum skid plate. You can just let all the oil drain right through it and then just brake clean it off after. I'll take our filter out. You could inspect this filter if you were so inclined. Actually, it might not be that hard to. I might try that. Just to see. There shouldn't be a whole lot of gunk on this because this bike only has 3,000 kilometers on it. But unknown amount of hours. I haven't plugged it in yet. Do I have a little saw? I do actually. A saw, dude. You know, I'm probably looking directly at like 3 hacksaws right now. But you'd never know it. Alright. Fine, I'll use this crappy one. Little tiny flake right there. Doubt that's anything to really write home about. Little tiny flake right there. Another one there. Another little one there. So you got like maybe 3-4 tiny little flakes in there. All right. Yeah, we're gonna let that drain like that. Man, that oil's a little bit blacker than my SXV was. And that's only got like 700 kilometers on it. Now we can put our fresh oil filter in. High flow filtro. I'm not sure if these are the best. I don't really know. Now, a lot of people will tell you that you need to put your bike over on its side in order to get these in. I've never done that. I've never needed to do that. The only reason you'd need to do that is if you're not very swift. But you know me, I watch Rick and Morty, I get swifty. What I do is I set that in right there, just like that. And then I quickly get it up on there. And to check that the spring is set correctly, you press it in and it bounces back out a little bit. That's exactly what you want. Now, there is a torque setting for this, and it is precisely, I think it's 18 foot-pounds. It's 26 Newton meter or whatever. And by God, or by George, whoever you pray to, you wanna get that correct, because if you over tighten this, either you can strip the threads. They're not very strong threads. You can strip the threads or start leaking oil. That should be it right there. Always remember to take the torque off of your torque wrench. If you're in Canada and you don't have a mechanic's discount, M-Zone on Amazon, you can buy a pack of 12 for like $40. That should go in just nice like that. And then we're just gonna snug it up. We're not trying to strip the threads out here. So just snug that up until, just like that, don't crank it down. Gonna get that started in there. Just snugged right up. For the oil reservoir, we're gonna need to turn our wheel. Now, if you do this right, and you don't mess it up, everybody's gonna walk away a winner. And only a few people are gonna walk away a wiener. I've had luck, on my SXV at least, just opening this. Actually, I should open that fill plug too. Yeah, it's crazy how bolts tighten themselves up over time. There shouldn't be very much oil in here. But if it's properly up on the side stand with the tire aimed this way, that should, for the most part, just drain straight down. Looks like there's just a little bit of water contamination. Now that just looks like it's at this drain plug, so I'm not too concerned because a little bit will get in there with condensation and through the air box or whatever, humidity. So as long as it's not in the actual oil itself, then we're good. There she is. You can put that drain plug back in there. And if I could keep a solid eye on where my Allen key goes, I would be a little bit more organized in this shop, but that's not the way I rumble. Again, just hand tight. Now we can put the skid plate back on. But before we do that, we will inspect this oil. Doesn't look to be too bad. There is a couple sparkles, very fine particles. But I should keep an eye on the hours just to see what kind of shape she really is in. Ooh man, look at that moth right there. I hate bugs like that. Well, as luck would have it, I just so happened to find a perfect contender in my used bolts bin. Loctite 243 is what I do want. Yes, welcome. Welcome to my SXV dungeon. Aha. Loctite 242, good enough. With these bolts, they have a pressed in insert on the bottom of the frame here. So, as if you can see those inserts there, what you need to be careful of when you're putting these bolts in is not to over torque them, of course. That's a given. Because if you do that, or you impact them in too much, something along those lines anyway, that should, this hose should be going just over the starter circuit there. If you impact those in too much, that can strip that insert out, and then it'll just spin. And then you have to take these, put these bolts in and out with another little impact. Now we can fill the engine oil. I use Motul. I'm not sure if it's the best, but keeps my engines running. I like to hold her down like this. Just pour it right in there. It takes a good couple liters. Now you want to make sure, and you get your light to do this, what the oil level is on this tube right there. That's what we're looking at. See, look at that. 5:03 a.m. We're just barely at the min right now. We are at the max level right now. You see that? So don't be too concerned because we still need to run it. So we're going to save that for when we actually get up because it's, it's 5 a.m. So now there's something else we need to check. And that is the level of fluid in the airbox. So we can do that simply by yanking this tube off of that airbox outlet right there. See that? We're going to put that back on there. Generally, these route beside that blow-by hose right here and underneath this starter coil there. And then just press that up on there. This skid plate is made so that you probably could do this oil change without taking it off, but I just prefer to take it off. It's just easier. Let's put our oil filler. Ah, crap. Ah, Krapovich. Is that why they call it Akrapovich? Ah, Krapovich? Because I just got oil all over my... Come on. God, these are the most miserable things. Is there a right way to thread this on? I don't think there is a right way to thread these on. You're just supposed to press them right in. Good gracious, this is ridiculous. There we go. Holy crap. What an ordeal. Once we get this on the road, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to take it for maybe a 10-minute ride down the road. So, you know, just go to the corner store or something, or go to the small town down the road, or go visit the creek or something like that, or your buddy's house. And then bring it back and then top it up. So don't worry about it running low on oil. Just, you know, don't beat on it until you can get the rest of the oil in. So, all right. See you on the flip side.
All right. So we're back out now. Later in the day. We're going to start her up. 3,000 kilometers. Pull our high idle. So we've definitely put a few kilometers on her. You're supposed to check this oil when it's warm. Can you see where our oil level is at? So before we top up the oil real quick, another thing you want to keep an eye on is these little grommets here. See that one on that side? I've got another one here. You want to make sure that these aren't falling out. And the reason I like to make sure that they're in there is because if they're not, they're clacking up and down, and that puts extra strain on your dash bezel here, and that can crack and break off. And unfortunately, they're not replaceable. There might be somebody that makes it in carbon fiber aftermarket, I'm not sure. I thought I seen one, but nonetheless, you don't want to have to try and find that guy. I'm going to acquire our oil. By the way, make sure that you're putting 10W60 in here and not 10W40 or something. It probably won't take that much. Just keep an eye on where that oil level is. Damn, she was thirsty. Alright, so hopefully you can see that's closer to the max. I figure I should show you, because there's a oil change and maintenance interval on the dash when you turn it on. So I'll show you here. See these blinking lights here? The oil can and a little wrench. They're just timed blinkers. They come on, I think it's 3,000 miles or 3,000 kilometers for the oil change, and 9,000 for, or so many hours for the wrench, I'm not sure. So I figure we're going to show you how to take those off and possibly reset how many kilometers or miles that they get reset to. So now I don't usually do this, so I pulled up a little how-to here. Anything that you want to know about these bikes can be found on the Aprilia forums. So usually you could just Google it, and that's usually the first result. What we need to do, we need to hold the scroll button, turn the key on. Okay. After 7 seconds, WS. Release the scroll button. The display shows end, correct? This is the serviced setup mode. You can use the scroll button to rotate through the 4 menus choices below. Miles per hour plus kilometers per hour. Use scroll to select the desired menu item. Then press and hold scroll for 4 seconds to activate the desired item. The display shows dashes. Release scroll. Alright, so we need to hold that until some dashes show up. There we go. No. Upon selecting this item, there are 2 possibilities. If the oil can icon is active, you will have the opportunity to clear it. Proceed directly below. If the can icon is not active, then skip over the next section to change oil service interval. The display shows clear and no. Press and release the scroll to alternate between no and yes. Select yes if you wish to reset the oil can icon. Press and hold scroll for 4 seconds. WS appears on the display. Release scroll. If you selected no, you will not proceed to the next section. The display will revert to the service setup menu. Number of hours between oil service icon reminders. The factory setting is 13. The second digit of the hours value will be blinking and now can be changed. Alright, so we're gonna select yes. We're not, you know what, I'm not gonna, if you want to change it, you can do that yourself. So I'm just going to actually, it looks like we're already changing that. Okay, so we're just going to set it at 10 hours. Alright, so oil, and now we've pressed the scroll again. We've got that little service icon. Shows clear and no. Press and release scroll to alternate between no and yes. Select yes if you wish to reset the wrench icon. Press and hold scroll for 4 seconds. WS appears on the display release scroll. If you select no, you will not proceed to the next section. The display will revert to the service setup menu. So we're going to hold that. Okay. We're going to select yes, and then we're going to hold that. Okay. Turn the key off. And they are off. Okay. So if you want to read right here, factory setting is 44 hours, looks like, for the number of hours that need to wrench on it. Choosing between Supermoto or Enduro. It is unlikely that the value should be changed, and I don't know exactly what it does. That's pretty cool. There's quite a few functions to this dash. There it is. If you want to take a look at it on your own time, there you go. I just figured I should probably show you how to do it. I never bother. If you are so inclined, if you can remember that sequence of how to do things on your own, then having those little service reminders coming on can probably be handy. So alright, if you liked the video, if you found it useful, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, but you know, you don't have to. I'm not forcing you.